Hi, my name is Sharitha Coleman, and today I'm talking about thinking everybody wants to be good while they treat you poorly. When it's about us having empathy and making excuses for why people treat us poorly and continuing to allow them to treat us poorly because we believe everyone wants to be good because we want to be good. We may outweigh people's good behaviors over the bad when it should be the opposite. If we saw people for who they are, they wouldn't be in our lives. Or they would change their behavior around us to be with us. I know from experience that thinking everybody wants to be good causes heartache and pain. A lot of it. We may believe that people, situations, and past make them bad because of them choosing to make bad decisions. Oh, my bad. Instead of them choosing to make bad decisions. But remember, if people really wanted to be good, they would treat people better. They would put an effort into trying to change and be a better person. You would see them changing on a daily basis, not just them telling you that they are changing or they want to be good or they're going to be good and they're going to change what they're doing. These people we love make bad choices daily, and their behavior indicates a preference for negativity. If every day they're going out and they're doing the exact same thing that they said that they wasn't going to do, or that they didn't like doing, or that they have no control over, they don't really want to change. They just want to tell you that so they can keep running you over. That's the truth. In this video, I want to help people to see that their behavior might keep them tied to the illusion that everyone is good, which is a delicate process. It's all about balance and gently guiding people towards a more realistic perspective without shattering their positive outlooks entirely. But let's be real. If you keep thinking that everybody wants to be good and that they will change one day and they're showing you that they're not changing every day, your reality will be shattered by people who take advantage of you, leaving you frustrated, hurt, and sad. Here is a step-by-step approach you could use. Let's start with part 1, self-awareness. I encourage you to reflect on your own experiences and behaviors. I reflect on my experiences and behaviors frequently because I am an emotional person. This self-awareness is not about blaming yourself or others, but about empowering yourself to make better choices in your relationships. Here are 2 questions to get you started. Can you think of a time when someone you love and trusted disappointed you? I have an example. When I was a child, my mother was addicted to drugs. And she gave me some money to stop crying over her going to get drugs. Then she asked for it back and told me that she would give it to me back. She never gave it back. The second question: how did this experience make you feel? And what did you learn? I learned that, I was angry at the time. And this memory was vivid most of my life. And I thought that I had no feelings after it happened. I would think about it sporadically throughout life, but I had no emotion with it. Through coaching, I discovered my mother started to manipulate and gaslight me at 5 years old. Every time she manipulated and gaslighted me, it reopened the pain and the anger I had towards my mother when I was 5 years old. What did I learn about this memory? Is I was betrayed, sad, helpless, powerless, and felt stupid for letting her borrow it. Whenever someone I trust does me wrong, I feel the same way. I also learned from this experience that crack is a powerful drug, and it will make you betray your children. In part 10 of this video, I will discuss how I overcame my anger towards my mother with God and found empathy for her. Part 2, the concept of balance. It's healthy to see the good in people, but it's also important to recognize that not everyone has good intention. Here are some analogies. It's like enjoying the sunshine, but keeping an umbrella handy just in case it rains. Trusting people is like walking through a beautiful rose garden. The roses are lovely, but if you're not careful, you might get pricked by a thorn. Enjoy the beauty, but watch out for the thorns. It's like loving the sunshine, but still wearing sunscreen. The sun is wonderful and makes you feel good, but you could get burned without protection. Part 3, real world examples. I've been watching Evil Lives Here on Max, and I've noticed patterns in the people who abuse their partners. When they met, everything was going well. The partners started to call their partners frequently in every episode, and the victims of their family would have a problem with the frequency of the calls. If somebody calls you so much, you get tired of them calling you, even if you're not tired of them calling you, and your loved ones think that it's a little too much, you might need to hold on to that until another red flag shows up. When you tell your partner to stop calling you so frequently and they get mad or stop and then start doing it again, that's a huge red flag. Then, in the episodes, the abuser love bombs the other person. Their behavior seems odd or weird. The abuser slowly changes their behavior when they know their partner loves them, slowly taking their independence away. In some cases, the abuser would tell their partner that they are getting married, and the partner would marry them. All of these actions are huge red flags. Then things slowly get worse and worse until the victim leaves, or on that show, the abuser gets caught or murders someone. I've noticed that most of the partners who are abused had a pattern too. They would be agreeable, naive, codependent. The partners unsuspectedly allow the abusers to cross their boundaries. The partners quickly change their behaviors for the abuser. They slowly stop fighting back because the abuser would always do and threaten worse. Then they would give up and submit. The partners all felt helpless and powerless. They all thought their abusers wanted to be good. The partners all made excuses for why the abuser treated them so poorly when they were in the relationships with them. Yes, I know abusers are good at convincing you that they'll do better. When I started looking at the behaviors of my abuser, That is when I started to realize I needed to plan on leaving him. I was in a domestic violence relationship. I felt a lot like the people on the show. The experience brought up some painful memories, and I could relate to the trauma bonding the partners experience. 5. Healthy boundaries. A personal boundary distinguishes what is your emotional or personal property and what belongs to someone else. The book Boundaries by Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. Healthy boundaries are flexible because you are assertive, can say no without guilt, and adjust them depending on relationships, says Brain Health Doc on Instagram. Healthy boundaries are the limits you place around your time, emotion, body, mental health to stay resilient, solid, and content with who you are. Not how you want others to be for you to be happy. These empowering borders protect you from being used, drained, or manipulated by others, says the Right Initiative. Boundaries feel like, nah, I don't like how this feels. It's that feeling when you're like, something ain't right, but you just can't place it. You just don't know where it's coming from and what it is. That's a boundary. Why don't you like this feeling? Is the next question you should ask yourself. Is it a feeling or is it a thought? And then, number 3, how do you feel? Do you feel pressured by someone? Like they are starting to feel like heavy on you? Or aggression? Oh my God. Aggression is a big one where you should have a boundary. If you feel aggression from anybody, you should have a boundary because they're doing too much. Or did you already tell the person no or whatever it was that you don't want to do? 4, do they remind you of a cold caller or a salesperson? Some cold callers or salespersons overstep their boundaries all day long. I'm not saying that all cold callers are boundary pushers. It is their job to make a sale. I'm more concerned in the way that they do it. If they are polite and asking if you want to hear about more deals, they are seeking your permission first. They are stepping all over your boundaries if they are aggressive and ask the same thing over and over after you told them no. You shouldn't have to hang up on them. I've had boyfriends that felt like cold callers. It's just repeated just over and over like a broken record, like they was gonna just wear me down until they got what they want. Those people you need to have boundary with and not be around. And also, polite people can overstep your boundaries too. Why is it important to protect yourself? It's disrespectful when people push your boundaries. No one is going to protect you like you protect yourself. We live in a society that ignores, rewards, and romanticizes crossing boundaries. Some people don't have integrity and make excuses for their bad behavior. So you must always protect yourself. The minute somebody decides to use any manipulation tactics to get something out of you or to get you to do something for them, they are crossing your boundaries because you come to the conversation expecting them to be truthful and they're coming to manipulate you. They have negative intention. It's great to be kind and trusting, but setting boundaries keep you safe and respected. Anyone with a problem with your boundaries is someone you can't trust. Now we're going to talk about the 10 laws of boundaries from Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. 1. The law of sowing and reaping. Our actions have consequences. This is the basic law of life. When a person without boundaries steps in for an irresponsible person, you stop them from their consequences. You end up paying physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I have paid so much for other people who were irresponsible because I wanted them to have better than they wanted for their selves. Number 2, the law of responsibility. We are responsible to each other, but not for each other. We are to love one another, not to be one another. I can't feel your feelings for you. I can't think for you. I can't believe for you. I can't work through your disappointments that limits bring you. In short, I can't grow for you. Only you can do that. And likewise, you can't grow for me. There have been so many times in my life that I wanted to save a lot of people so that they wouldn't have the disappointments that they probably needed in their lives. And that only left me exhausted and feeling unloved and unappreciated. Number 3, the law of power. We have power over some things. We don't have power over others, including changing people. Let me tell you, I tried to change my mother, my boyfriend, my kids. I tried to change everybody. I wanted everybody to be better people. I wanted them to want better out of life and do better in life. And it only left me upset, tired, angry, and realizing that I can't change them. They only can change themselves. And if they don't want it, then why am I trying to get it for them? The serenity prayer. God grants me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Meaning, other people, your past, anything outside of you. The courage to change the things I can. Meaning, inside of you, your response to people who are acting a certain way. And responsibilities that you have. And the wisdom to know the difference, which is the hardest, because sometimes you may not know what's yours and what's somebody else's. My default is always no for everything. If you don't know, no. You can influence people by changing yourself so that their destructive patterns no longer work for you. I will say that is true. I have changed who I am and became a better person and had made boundaries, and people have had to change to be around me, and they don't like it, especially when they're used to you not having boundaries. Number 4, the law of respect. If we wish for others to respect our boundaries, we need to respect theirs. And that's where I learned that I didn't respect other people's boundaries because I was all in their business. So that was me not respecting their boundaries and what they wanted for their life. I thought I knew what they should want and need, because I knew for sometimes that it was easier for them. Well, I thought it was easier for them. Respect other people's choice and freedom is a gift. Our real concerns with each other should not be, are they doing what I would do? I did that a lot. Or what I want them to do. I did that a lot. But are they really making a free choice? It's hard to allow people to make free choices, especially when you know that it's not going to end well for them. But all you can do is be there after they make the mistake, to be supportive, but not to take over for them and clean it up. No, not at all. When we accept others' freedom, we don't get angry, feel guilty, or withdraw love when they set boundaries with us. Nope, because we know we got boundaries, they got boundaries, and you know what? That's okay. Accepting others' freedom make us feel better about our own. It does. You become way more freer, way more. Step 5, the law of motivation. This one got me because everything was about motivation. We must be free to say no before we can wholeheartedly say yes. And I always felt like I couldn't say no. So I probably should have never been saying yes to everything I was saying yes to. If you are not setting boundaries, what is the emotion behind it? A lot of the time it was empathy for other people and what they're going through and what they are not doing to make their situations better. Is it other people's anger, your fear of abandonment, your desire of approval, payback, or over-identification of loss? It would be anger. I didn't want people to be mad at me. I didn't want to hurt other people's feelings while they were sitting up there hurting my feelings. I feared abandonment. I didn't realize how abandoned I was as a child because my parents were around me. But just because your parents are around you does not mean that they are emotionally there for you. And that's where I was abandoned. I wanted to be approved by everybody because I felt unloved and rejected by my parents, that I wanted everybody to approve me and like me and love me because I was a good person. I am a good person. Payback. I forgot which one that's about. Or over-identification of loss. Yeah, I already talked about that. Knowing the emotion and motivation behind it will help support and enforce your boundaries. Yes, it will. Number 6, the law of evaluation. We need to evaluate the pain our boundaries cause others. Knowing the difference between hurtful and helpful can help with these effective boundaries. Let me tell you, when I told everybody no, everybody was mad, and sometimes it might have been hurtful, which I found out later. And now I know how to make helpful boundaries instead of hurtful boundaries, because I went from being passive to probably aggressive. I was just like, forget y'all. I've been doing everything. No. 7, the law of proactivity. We take action to solve problems based on our values, wants, and needs. Mother Teresa said it well. I was once asked why I don't participate in anti-war demonstrations, and she said that I will never do that. As soon as you have a pro-peace rally, I will be there. 8, the law of envy. I had this a lot too. I will never get what we want. We will never get what we want if we focus outside our boundaries until what others have. Coming from a poor and I would say middle class poor parents, I would say that I focused on what everybody else had. I wanted the nicest houses, the nicest cars, I wanted to be like everybody else. I was trying to figure out why, I'm such a nice person. I don't understand why I'm not getting these things, and I'm a hard worker. I do a good job. I take care of my kids. And instead of accepting me for who I am and where I was at and in my boundaries, and making what I had better for me and my children so I could be happy. If we are focused on what other people have accomplished or have in their lives, we are neglecting our own responsibilities. So true. Because when you use all that energy focused on everybody else, you're not using it for you. This can leave people with weak boundaries feeling empty and unfulfilled. I was so empty and unfulfilled for most of my life. Taking action is the way out. My problem was I was always taking action and I felt like I was not getting enough out of the action that I was doing. But I wasn't willing to not be authentic to get it. And that was it. I think I was more angry because I was not willing to do what other people did to get those things that I wanted to. Number 9, the law of activity. We need to take the incentive to set limits rather than be passive. So true. I was so passive. I didn't set limits. I just let people just say and do and until I just got tired. And when I got tired, then I got assertive and then I started pushing back, but it took a lot. It took a lot for me to set limits. Developing assertiveness and take action around increasing this intelligence facet supports creating boundary with courage. It is so true. I was bullied a lot. I was bullied by my mother. And so I just learned how to be passive and just not say anything and just let things happen around me because it made me look like the good child and the good kid because I was passive and I did everything I was told and I was a good student when really I just knew I couldn't fight back. And so I just chose to be quiet. Number 10, the law of exposure. We need to communicate our boundaries to each other. Do it. Boundaries are to be made visible and communicated clearly in the light with all aspects of self. So, let me tell you, if you are a person who doesn't have boundaries and you start to tell people no and have boundaries, you're going to piss off a lot of people. And it's going to be a lot of confusion and hurt feelings, crying, but you will make it through and you will be okay and you will feel better in the end. And you'll have more time and more energy and sleep for yourself. If you wouldn't allow someone close to you to do something that another person does to you, then you don't like their behavior. Example, some things I allow my mother to say negatively to me, I wouldn't let anyone in my family speak to me like that. That meant I didn't like what she was doing. Six, role playing. I think I messed up. Engage in role-playing exercises where you practice saying no or recognize red flags in different scenarios with someone who hasn't broken your trust. Your friend, Alex, sorry, that's my Rocky that gets kicked out all the time. Okay, role-play situation. Your friend, Alex, asks to borrow $500 because they're short on rent this month. Questions to ask. Ask if they have explored other options for getting the money. Because you gotta at least try somewhere else first. At least show an effort or something. Then you ask, why are you short on the rent? Because that will give you a lot of information on whether or not you should let them borrow $500. When do they plan on paying it back? Always get a date. Always. Action steps. Offer to help Alex come up with a budget. I don't know about this, but if that's the type of person you are, then maybe. Or find other resources if you don't have the money or don't want to give them the money. Because, hey, you can help them find resources because you just don't want to give it to them. You are never obligated to give anybody money unless I feel like they let you borrow money. Then you might be. You might be, but I don't know. Decide on a written agreement for repayment if you choose to lend the money. Yes. If it is going to be payments, write it out and sign it. Both of y'all need to sign it. Consider setting a smaller amount if you're uncomfortable with the full $500. Still, get a written agreement or a text, something that shows that you gave this person money. Number 7, you are worthy. Remember, you deserve to protect yourself first. You will feel bad if you are used to putting everyone in front of you, and that feeling will go away. You might feel like you're not a good friend. You owe loyalty to yourself first. You deserve to be treated well. Part of that is making sure you trust people who have shown that they are trustworthy. 8. The power of intuition. I encourage you to listen to your gut feeling. If something feels off, it probably is. Trust your instincts. Sometimes that understanding is delayed. Listen to your body. Your mind might feel bad and want to say yes. Your body will probably protect you. A counselor told me, every time you get a feeling, every time you do something you're unsure you should do and have a bad feeling behind it, that's a boundary. That bad feeling was my intuition. You will quickly find out what you like and what you don't like. I had loose and rigid boundaries. The first thing I did was say no to everything that didn't feel good. And the next thing I knew, I was listening to my intuition. Yes, it hurt. And I cried a lot. I trusted that I would be okay. And I was. Number 9. Let's talk about the impact of being naive. What type of people are usually naive? Kids, people who love too much, intellectually disabled, some mentally ill, people under the age of 25 because their brains haven't grown fully. Not all of them. And emotionally abused people. The consequences of being too trusting is financial loss. Yeah. They will take all your money and not care how you are doing. Because it's all about self. Missed goals. People who take advantage of people who are too trusting will, like I said, it's all about themselves. They're selfish, so they don't care about your goals. Damage reputation. I don't know why I couldn't say that. Low self-esteem, manipulation, exploitation. Oh, I've been exploited so much and manipulated. And had low self-esteem because of what people have done to me. Yes, I have. Broken relationships. Lots of them. Deception. Yeah, I felt like people deceived me a lot. Feeling angry. I was angry all the time. sadness. I was sad all the time. Confused. I was confused a lot. Betrayed. I felt like felt betrayed a lot. Anxiety, because I was confused and didn't know what to do and how to react, and scared of, because I was passive, and then rumination. Yeah, and because of what people had done to me and that I hadn't said anything to them, I ruminated and thought about how I was treated wrong over and over and over and over again, until I got to a thought that made me feel good, but it still wasn't standing up for myself. Intrusive thoughts. Yeah, those are the thoughts, the ruminations. They just pop up, and then you be like, oh yeah, I remember when this person did me wrong, and then you're mad and having a bad day, and yeah. Difficulty concentrating, yeah. Because you have intrusive thoughts, and you ruminate it, and you have anxiety, and you're confused, and so you just all over the place. Embarrassment. Embarrassed by family, friends, everybody. Humiliation. Everybody was talking about me, saying I was stupid and I was a fool, and laughing at me. Even the people who were abusing me were laughing at me, and that's what really hurt. Feeling used. I felt used a lot. Guilt, because I trusted people more than I trusted myself. Resentment. Yeah, I resented everybody. Everybody. And shame, because I didn't understand why I kept wanting to trust people more than myself and keep hurting myself over and over and over again, because I didn't want them to be angry at me or whatever the reason was. Being a good friend or family member can get you hurt by friends and family. Yes, it will. It's okay to protect yourself. 10. Practicing forgiveness and learning. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Buddha. I held on to so much anger that I think I was poisoning myself on a daily basis. Forgive yourself for your faults and your mistakes and move on. Les Brown. You will make mistakes, and they will hurt, and you will learn from them. It's a part of life. I used to strive for perfection, but realized I was always making mistakes all the time. Mistakes teach us lessons. I was the queen of I ain't forgiving nothing. I was holding on to my anger. I was not going to forgive anybody because I didn't know, because I thought that meant that I approved of what they had done to me. And that just made me unhappy. In part 1, I talked about my mother manipulating and gaslighting me. My mother and I had a relationship based on trauma bonding. We were mostly angry at each other, but still had a close relationship. God helped me to stop talking to her permanently, finally. I struggled to forgive her because I couldn't understand why she would treat her child negatively. God helped me to see her as a traumatized person. I don't know much about my mother's past, and we deal with trauma differently. I am not saying that it was okay for my mother to treat me unfairly. Not at all. I'm just saying I'm just seeing her as she is traumatized. I chose to know my worth, forgive, and not be subjected to her anymore. Here's a scenario. Forgiving a friend, so you can communicate and express your feelings. If it is safe and appropriate, have an open conversation with a person who has hurt you. Express how you feel without blaming, which is very hard. Don't expect them to say they're sorry. Forgiveness is for you. And it also tells you about the type of person they are. If they're blaming you, or if they are not willing to say that they're sorry, then and y'all can have a mutual respect for each other, then they not your friend. Reflect. Journal about how holding a grudge against your friend has negatively affected you. Yes. You will feel amazing after you realize that all the things that you're doing, that you think that you're hurting your friend and you're only hurting yourself. I held so many grudges, and you know what? I was the one depressed and losing out. I lost out on so much because I was angry all the time, and I was depressed and sad. And I thought that if I forgave, that meant I approved their behavior. And when I found out that that's not it, you're just saying that, you know, you're not forgetting about it. You're just forgiving them so that you can move on and feel better. I forgave more. Have empathy for them. If you can, consider what might have been going on in your friend's life when they hurt you. But do not forget. And do not let empathy cause you to allow your friend to treat you bad again. I did that way too much. If someone breaks your trust, it's not your fault. Learn from it and move forward wiser. If somebody breaks your trust, what you learn from it is that they're not somebody that you can trust. And that's what you learn. And then you can make a decision from there if you want to continue to be around this person or if you want to deal with them in a different way. I hope by blending compassion and practical advice, I can help people strike a balance between seeing the good in others and protecting themselves from harms. Remember, it is a journey, not a destination.